The moon has always held humanity in its spell. For thousands of years, it was the unreachable light in the night sky, inspiring myths, poetry, and dreams of exploration. But in the 1960s, that dream became a global obsession. The United States, locked in a Cold War rivalry with the Soviet Union, declared that it would not only reach the moon, but land men on its surface and bring them safely home. President John F. Kennedy's bold promise in 1961 set the stage. Within the decade, an American astronaut would walk on the lunar soil. At the time, it seemed nearly impossible. The technology didn't exist. Rockets were unreliable. Computers filled entire rooms yet had less power than a modern calculator. But failure was not an option. The race to the moon became a battle for prestige, for national pride, and for proof of technological superiority. The Apollo program was born from this crucible of competition and ambition. Engineers and scientists were tasked with designing rockets that had never been built before, creating spacecraft that could survive the void of space, and preparing astronauts for the most daring journey in human history. Step by step, project by project, NASA pushed forward. Mercury, Gemini, and finally, Apollo. But as the missions advanced, questions began to surface, questions that would linger for decades. Did everything unfold exactly as history tells us? Or was there more beneath the surface? Some would later argue that what we saw on television screens around the world was not the unfiltered truth. Conspiracies would grow, feeding on gaps in knowledge, on technical oddities, and on the sheer scale of what NASA claimed to achieve. To understand this tension, we must return to the beginning, the Cold War rivalry that ignited it all. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, the first artificial satellite, shocking the United States and the world. Suddenly, the idea of space was not just scientific, it was political, even military. If the Soviets could put a satellite into orbit, perhaps they could also send weapons. America felt threatened, and its leaders responded with urgency. NASA was created, and the space race began. In the early years, the Soviet Union dominated. They launched the first man into space, Yuri Gagarin, in 1961. The United States seemed to lag behind, always playing catch-up. Kennedy's moonshot promise was as much about beating the Soviets as it was about exploration. Billions of dollars were poured into Apollo. Factories across the nation hummed with activity. Thousands of engineers, scientists, and technicians worked day and night. The Saturn V rocket became the centerpiece of this effort, a machine taller than the Statue of Liberty, with enough thrust to shake the Earth itself. Every launch was a gamble, every test carried risk. But the momentum built steadily, culminating in the mission that would change everything, Apollo 11. In July 1969, the world held its breath. Millions watched as Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin descended toward the lunar surface, guided by a fragile lander, while Michael Collins orbited alone above. Armstrong's words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," became immortal. The American flag stood on lunar soil. Humanity, it seemed, had broken the final barrier. Yet almost as soon as the cheers faded, doubts began to creep in. Some asked, how could the United States achieve this monumental feat with such limited technology, and do so in less than a decade? How could television signals be transmitted from the moon so clearly in 1969? When ordinary broadcasts on Earth were often unreliable? Why were there no stars visible in the photographs taken on the lunar surface? These questions sparked suspicion. They gave rise to one of the most enduring conspiracy theories of the modern era, the claim that the moon landings were staged. According to this narrative, what the world saw was not astronauts walking on the moon, but actors performing on a carefully constructed set, filmed under controlled conditions. But why would such a deception be undertaken? Supporters of this theory argue that the United States, desperate to beat the Soviets, may have chosen illusion over defeat. Billions of dollars were at stake. National prestige hung in the balance. If the moon race could not be won in reality, perhaps it could be won in appearance. For years, NASA dismissed such claims as absurd. Scientists explained the missing stars as a matter of camera exposure, the clarity of the television signal as a function of transmission technology, and the physics of lunar dust as consistent with a vacuum environment. But the conspiracy narrative refused to die. It tapped into deeper doubts about government honesty, about media control, and about the very nature of truth. As we journey through the story of Apollo, we will revisit both the triumphs and the controversies. We will see how fragile the line between fact and doubt can be, how extraordinary achievements invite extraordinary scrutiny, and how one of humanity's greatest milestones became, for some, a source of suspicion. This is the story of Apollo, not just the story of rockets and astronauts, but of belief and disbelief, of science and skepticism, of a moment in history when humanity reached higher than ever before, and then questioned whether it had truly happened. As the Eagle descended through the lunar sky, the tension inside Mission Control was palpable. Every heart beat in unison with the small capsule's journey, every eye glued to the flickering screens. Outside, the gray, powdery surface of the moon drew closer, its alien silence contrasting sharply with the bustling voices on Earth. Tranquility base here. The Eagle has landed. Neil Armstrong's calm, deliberate words echoed across the world, yet the weight of their significance was almost impossible to grasp. Humanity had reached beyond the confines of our planet, standing on the threshold of the unknown. Buzz Aldrin stepped onto the lunar surface, leaving humanity's first footprints on this barren, otherworldly terrain. Each step seemed both monumental and fragile, a dance between human determination and the delicate environment surrounding them. Armstrong's iconic words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," resonated with every person watching, a testament to the boundless potential of curiosity, courage, and collaboration. But this achievement was more than a technological triumph. It was a story of relentless human spirit. Behind every calculation, every test, every sleepless night at NASA, there were minds daring to dream bigger than the sky itself. The moon landing reminded the world that boundaries exist only until someone dares to push past them. Even today, the Eagle's descent inspires generations of scientists, engineers, and dreamers. It reminds us that exploration is not just about reaching new places, it's about discovering what humanity is truly capable of when we unite with purpose and imagination. The moon is silent, timeless, and untouched, yet the human story etched upon it continues to speak louder than any words ever could. As the astronauts returned to the lunar module, the magnitude of their achievement began to sink in. Every experiment conducted, every photograph taken, every sample collected was a piece of a puzzle that would expand humanity's understanding of the universe. The moon was no longer just a distant, glowing orb in the night sky. It had become a tangible destination, a symbol of what can be accomplished when vision meets action. Back on Earth, the world held its breath as the astronauts safely re-entered the command module. The cheers that erupted in Mission Control were not just for the men in space, they were a celebration of the collective effort of thousands of engineers, scientists, and dreamers who had refused to let impossibility dictate the future. Each handshake, each embrace was a quiet acknowledgement. This was not just one nation's triumph, but humanity's triumph. Yet, the story of Apollo 11 is not merely one of historical achievement, it is a lesson in ambition, resilience, and courage. It reminds us that the unknown is not to be feared, but to be explored. That even in the face of unimaginable risk, a unified purpose can create miracles. The Eagle may have left the moon behind, but the inspiration it seeded continues to orbit in every heart, daring enough to dream beyond the sky. Today, as rockets launch from Earth toward Mars and beyond, the moon landing remains a beacon. It whispers to all who look upward, humanity is capable of extraordinary feats, limited only by the boundaries we accept in our minds. The footprints left in the lunar dust are permanent markers, not just of a moment in time, but of the endless potential within us all. And as we continue to explore, innovate, and imagine, one truth remains clear: the moon landing was never just about touching another world, it was about proving that when we believe, strive, and unite, we can achieve the impossible. But the story doesn't end with Apollo 11. Its legacy echoes through every corner of science, technology, and human ambition. The innovations born out of necessity for space travel, computing power, materials science, telecommunications transformed life on Earth in ways no one could have predicted. The moon landing ignited a generation of thinkers, engineers, and dreamers, inspiring young minds to look up, to ask, what else is possible? It taught humanity that cooperation can surpass competition, that shared goals can achieve feats far greater than individual ambition. NASA's success was not the work of a single hero, it was the sum of tireless dedication, meticulous planning, and unyielding belief in the impossible. The lunar mission reminds us that when we pool our talents and work toward a common dream, the universe itself becomes a canvas. Even now, As new missions are planned and astronauts prepare to return to the moon and, perhaps, journey beyond, Apollo 11 stands as a benchmark of courage and vision. Its story is a compass pointing toward exploration, discovery, and the unrelenting drive to expand the boundaries of what humanity can achieve. The Eagle may have returned to the Sea of Tranquility, leaving only footprints, yet its true mark is not the temporary trace in lunar dust, it is in the hearts and minds of all who dare to dream. Every rocket launched, every new mission conceived, carries forward the spirit of Apollo, reminding us that exploration is not a destination, but a mindset, a call to persist, to innovate, and to reach for the stars. And so, the moon landing remains not just a historic event, but a timeless testament that when vision meets courage, when preparation meets daring, and when humanity dares to step beyond fear, we can reach heights once thought impossible. As we look back on July 20, 1969, it's easy to see the moon landing as a moment frozen in history, a singular achievement captured in grainy footage and iconic photographs. But in truth, it is far more than that. It is a living lesson in human potential. It reminds us that no dream is too vast, no horizon too distant, and no challenge too great when courage, ingenuity, and perseverance guide the way. The astronauts who walked on the lunar surface were ordinary people who accomplished extraordinary things. They were trained, prepared, and, above all, willing to take risks for the sake of a vision larger than themselves. And in their footsteps, billions have found inspiration to push boundaries, to innovate, to explore realms previously unimaginable. Apollo 11 teaches us that progress is not linear, and that the path to greatness is forged through determination, collaboration, and the willingness to embrace the unknown. Every mission to space, every breakthrough in science, every leap in human knowledge carries the echoes of that first giant step. So, what does this mean for us today? It means that the universe is not a limit, it is an invitation. It means that our potential is defined not by fear, but by curiosity, courage, and action. And it means that each of us, in our own way, can take steps, sometimes small, sometimes monumental, toward the impossible. The moon landing is more than history. It is a mirror reflecting the boundless possibilities within each human being. And as we dream of returning to the moon, venturing to Mars, or even reaching further into the cosmos, we carry forward a single, timeless truth: humanity is capable of achieving the extraordinary, one bold step at a time. The Eagle has landed, yes, but the journey continues. And so does the story of human potential, waiting for each of us to rise, to act, and to step boldly into the next frontier. And yet, as we celebrate the triumph of Apollo 11, it is important to remember that the moon landing was never an end, it was a beginning. It sparked a new era of curiosity, innovation, and daring exploration. It reminded humanity that we are not bound to Earth alone, that the sky is not a limit, but a threshold to be crossed. Every experiment conducted, every rock brought back, every data point collected on that barren lunar surface expanded our understanding not just of the moon, but of our own planet, our environment, and our place in the cosmos. The moon was a mirror, reflecting both the fragility and resilience of our world, and inspiring generations of scientists, engineers, and dreamers to imagine new possibilities. But the moon landing also offers a lesson in humility. It reminds us that great achievements are never solitary. They require teams, collaboration, and the combined intellect of countless individuals. From engineers to technicians, from mission control staff to astronauts, the journey to the moon was a symphony of human effort. And it teaches us that any challenge, no matter how daunting, can be overcome when people unite with a shared vision. Today, as we look toward Mars, space stations, and beyond, the spirit of Apollo 11 lives on. It lives in every child gazing at the night sky with wonder. It lives in every scientist pushing the boundaries of knowledge. And it lives in each of us, reminding us that greatness is not reserved for the few, it is within reach for all who dare to dream, to innovate, and to act. The moon landing was a moment of triumph, yes, but more importantly, it was a spark. A spark that ignites our imagination, fuels our ambitions, and dares us to believe that even the most impossible dreams are achievable. So let us take that lesson with us, not only as a tribute to the astronauts who walked on the moon, but as a call to action, to explore, to innovate, and to step boldly into the unknown. For the universe is waiting and humanity's journey has only just begun.